What is going on, Hoops fans? Back at it with another New York Knicks video. Don't usually make a lot of New York Knicks videos. I try to stream as many games as I can. Missed the game yesterday. I will be live streaming the game on Saturday when Cam Reddish goes up against his former team. I'm going to try to do a lot more Knicks videos in the offseason and throughout the rest of the season than when there's something major to talk about, being that I have a little bit more time, being that the New York Giants regular season is over, even though I'm definitely going to give you guys a ton of offseason content. But obviously, you guys know if you watch my streams, I am a huge New York Knicks fan, and the New York Knicks today made a big trade. And the reason I really like this trade, and we're going to get into all the specifics in this video, but you're talking about a guy who's 22 years old. So this trade is not even so much for this year, it's for long term, which is what you want if you're a New York Knicks fan. And Leon Rose, so far since he's come in with the New York Knicks, has done a great job of getting future draft capital, along with bringing in a lot of young talent with upside that you can build around for the future. Now, all these young players more than likely will not be a part of the long-term future of the New York Knicks. You're going to take some of these players eventually and try to go out there and get yourself a superstar. But the more future draft capital you get, the more young potential you get on your roster, the more likely you're going to be able to go out there and be able to make a trade for a potential superstar, which has to be the goal long-term for this New York Knicks team, but they have to build the team up right. And if you look at this team right now, you got Mitch Robinson, you got Obi Toppin, you got Emmanuel Quickley, you got RJ Barrett, you got Cam Reddish now. So you got a lot of young talent, not to mention Grimes. So the New York Knicks are definitely building this thing up the right way. I still think they're thinking long-term. And in this trade, they didn't give up much. You're talking about the 10th overall pick in the same draft that we drafted RJ Barrett. Of course, Reddish is former teammates with Barrett, so you got chemistry there. I'm sure the New York Knicks took that into account. Reportedly, the Knicks and the Hawks were talking for like 2 weeks, and we don't know if the Knicks are done yet, by the way. They still may go out there and try to make another move, and we'll see. As far as the Hawks go, I think they were trying to get what they could. They knew that Reddish wasn't going to be in the long-term plans of this basketball team. We'll touch on that a little bit more as we go throughout the video. And they were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, similar to last year with Derrick Rose. The Knicks got Derrick Rose for next to nothing from the Detroit Pistons, and we got him kind of around this point in the season as well, and Rose had a lot to do with that resurgence in the second half for the Knicks that got us to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and hopefully Reddish could have that kind of impact on this year's team. My guess would be Reddish is going to kind of fill that Alec Burks role, especially when we get fully healthy. We get all our point guards back, we'll see. But he's a combo guard. He can play both the 2 and the 3. We'll get into his offensive numbers, but he's known to be a guy with good defensive ability, something that the New York Knicks could certainly use on the perimeter this year. We know we've struggled on the defensive side of the basketball court. Let's jump into the specifics of the trade. The New York Knicks are acquiring forward Cam Reddish from the Atlanta Hawks in a trade, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. In return, the Knicks will send the Hawks a 2022 first-round pick via the Charlotte Hornets plus Kevin Knox. The first-round pick is protected, and it is heavily protected. We'll get into that in a second. And the New York Knicks also receive a veteran forward, Solomon Hill, and a 2025 second-round pick via the Brooklyn Nets in that deal. And I think we all know, I think the Knicks might have like the entire second round. I think it's the 2023 draft. We have a ton of second round picks coming up in one of the drafts that are coming up. So we just add another one to another future draft. Not that it means that much in the NBA. Usually second round picks don't turn out to be much, but it's just more future draft capital that you could potentially use to try to acquire a player in the future. And that's what Leon Rose has done. He stockpiled a number of future picks for the New York Knicks, and he trades away one of them today to go out there and get a guy that has high upside. And we'll get into the player that people were comparing Cam Reddish to just 2 or 3 years ago when he was coming into the NBA. The Hawks reportedly were shying away from giving the 22-year-old the type of contract he wanted. Reddish is eligible for a contract extension this summer. His 4-year, $19.3 million rookie contract expires following the 2022-23 season, and he could become a restricted free agent. So you have to think if the Knicks made this trade, they plan on extending Cam Reddish. They think that's the type of player they're looking to build with. He's young, and you have to think he's going to be a part of the future of this basketball team. This is the protections in terms of that Charlotte Hornets pick. This is when they got the pick. New York will receive a heavily protected first-round pick from Charlotte in 2022. According to Zach Lowe of ESPN, who adds the protections will decrease over the next 3 years. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, the protections are 1 through 18 next year, meaning if the Hornets finish in the top 18 in the draft order, that pick gets pushed back another year. The next year, it's 1 to 16. Same thing. They finish in the top 16. That pick gets backed another year. Then in 2024 and 2025, it's protected 1 to 14. So if they finish 14 or lower, that pick turns into 2 second-round picks. So it's potential. It's I don't know if it's likely, but there's potential that this may not even be a first-round pick that the New York Knicks end up giving up to get a 22-year-old guy with the upside that Cam Reddish has. So I don't think Leon Rose gave up much. I mean, worst-case scenario, you give up the 15th pick in 3 drafts from now. Otherwise, you're giving up the 19th, 20th pick potentially in this year's draft to go out there and get a guy like Cam Reddish. The question, I guess, for some Knicks fans is how much you're going to have to pay Cam Reddish, how much will it go against the salary cap. But again, it's another young talent that the Knicks are going to add to this roster that could certainly help them. In terms of Reddish's stats, here they are. This year, you've noticed he's improved a little bit. He's actually had 2 33-point games, I think 33 and 34 over the last month. My guess would be that the Hawks were trying to showcase him to try to up his trade value, knowing that they didn't have him in the long-term plans for this basketball team. But here's his stats. 2019, 2020, he averaged 11 points each of those 2 seasons. You'll notice his field goal percentage was really poor, 38%, and he actually went down last year. He didn't play a whole lot. He played 26 games, had an injury. I think he came back for the playoff series against the Knicks, but he only shot 26% from 3, 37% from the floor. This year, he's improved offensively. In only 23 minutes, he's shooting 40%, which is better than his previous 2 seasons. And the real uptick you'll see is the 3-point percentage, which is actually up to 38%. And maybe playing along RJ Barrett with New York, if they could find the right role for him, you could get the most out of this guy. Whether or not Reddish will be in the starting lineup, I have no idea. But you have to think he will be part of the 10-man rotation for the New York Knicks. This finally was his NBA comparison coming into the NBA. I've seen other people tell me, Paul George, I'm not going to go crazy with that. I'm not even going to have Rudy Gay type expectations. But if he becomes that, that would be great. I think this was from NBADraft.net, which is one of the more popular mock draft sites for NBA prospects. NBA comparison, Rudy Gay, versatile small forward with good shooting and overall offensive skills. Not elite vision, but his handle allows him to make plays for others and himself. Able to bring the ball up even against pressure. An above-average athlete, very fluid and coordinated. Doesn't look out of place at any position 1 through 4. Will find the open man, comfortable making a pass off the dribble. Keeps his head up, already comfortable from NBA range. Quick release, gets low to the ground with his handle. Flexible, has serious moves off the dribble, even though he did not always get to showcase them at Duke as the third option behind Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett. Live dribble counters can stop on a dime and pull up or use size and craft to get all the way. Handle doesn't slow him down, and he is a terrific shooter. Low 3-point percentage seems to be more of a product of his role and shot selection, which may not necessarily be the case. As we've seen, his 3-point percentage has not been great in the NBA so far. This year, like I said, dramatic increase though. But he could provide spacing in the modern game. Great physical tools at 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan. Excellent anticipation and timing to go along with length. Absolutely a terror in full court press, traps, and passing lanes. His wingspan and size even allows him to be a weak side shot blocker. When inspired, a good rebounder as well. Not huge, but solid frame. Can play some small ball 4, does well with contact, fights for rebounds, can post up, understands positioning, high-level defensive potential, super versatile, but active with quick hands as well. Length allows him to cover a huge distance. So, good stuff. And again, a guy that has not quite met his potential so far yet at the NBA level, but everything I've ever heard about Cam Reddish since he's been in the NBA, people say he is a good defender. That's something that the New York Knicks certainly need on this roster. If his offense ever gets to the point where a lot of teams thought it could be going into the NBA, that's a big plus, but he's certainly going to help the defense, right? When we lost Reggie Bullock this past season, we really have struggled on the defensive end of the basketball court. And hopefully that's what Reddish could bring to the New York Knicks, an improvement in that area, and will provide some much-needed depth off the bench, or potentially in the starting lineup. We'll see what his role inevitably will be with the New York Knicks. I would expect him to suit up Saturday, going up against his former team, being that we still got 2 days before that game. If not, he'll definitely be suiting up on Tuesday, a game in which I will actually be in attendance. My first Knicks game of the year, so I'm looking forward to that. But I just want to get a quick video up, man. I'm excited. I think this is a good move for the Knicks. And honestly, they may not be done. As As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.